you start to build these habits of injecting yourself with fear replacing activities. And if anybody out there is listening has heard of Kratom or 7-O's, 7-hydroxys, and you haven't tried it, don't. Life isn't just going to magically reward you for being you.
Like you said, fear is one of the things that drives people to addiction. Hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host, Keegan, and this is your podcast for recovery-focused healing from addictions and traumas. I really stumbled over my own foot right there. Today, we are welcoming back a great friend of the show and a true innovator in the recovery space, Matt von Boecklin. He is the mind behind the QuitKit, using his background in chemical engineering to dismantle the physical terror of withdrawal. In his previous visits, we've mapped out the mechanics of addiction and how to get curious about recovery. We're diving back into the rabbit holes to see where life has introduced more miracles for Matt and those that have tried the QuitKit. So, Matt, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm real good. It's good to see you, Keegan.
Heck yeah. I'm glad to hear that you're doing well, and it's great to see you too, my friend. We didn't wait a whole 6 months for our next conversation like last time, so... real quick... So the first time we spoke, it was 200 people that you'd helped. The second time, it was 2,000. So what's that number at now?
It is over 5,000.
Holy shit, dude. Wow.
Yeah, man.
Wow. Yeah. That is, well, that's a big number. A big increase, too, for an even shorter time frame.
It's unbelievable. I mean, who would have thought? I think, a year ago, I had just gotten QuitKit to be like third-party lab tested, manufactured professionally and all that, and built my own Shopify website. And now, this thing that helped me quit my Kratom extract addiction is helping people all over the country with a similar addiction, 7-hydroxys included, and some other things. It's unreal that this is my life.
Dude, that is unreal. So for everyone out there, real quick, let's do a recap of what the QuitKit is and what it isn't and what it all helps with.
Sure. When I was addicted to Kratom extracts, I tried to quit several times, and the withdrawals always sucked me back in. But I wasn't ready to go to rehab, and I wasn't ready to get a prescription to something like Suboxone. So yeah, chemical engineering background. I just decided one day, I was like, man, I'm just going to see if there's anything out there that supports, medical clinical trials that non-prescription options can minimize withdrawal symptoms. I don't know why. Like, anybody can go on. You can go on ChatGPT, actually. It'll do the work for you. And you can find a lot of options out there. So I basically just prepared a morning, afternoon, and nighttime blend of these supplements. And I quit, and the withdrawals were minimal. Like, I was ready to quit, right? Like, that was important. I was ready. And then the withdrawals were minimal, so it didn't push me back into the addiction. And essentially, that is exactly what the QuitKit still is. It's what helped me quit. It's just not made by hand in my living room. It's made by the real deal, like FDA certified places and all that. And now it's helping people with the same problem I had.
Oh, wow. That is way too cool. And I mean, I know that whenever I had first heard of Kratom, like, I was working in a food warehouse of sorts, like as an order selector, and there was a guy that always had this big old bag of Kratom, and I would just watch him just like do scoops like underneath his, all the time. And I was just like, what is that? And he's like, it's Kratom, and it helps me relax and feel good. It helps with pain and stuff. And I was like, and he was talking about like how it was helping him get off of, I think, alcohol at the time or something. And so like, but watching him go through like big old bags like in a couple of days, I was like, that seems like it's another addiction right there, my friend.
Yeah, you're right about that, man. And that's the fascinating thing that I've learned over this year-long journey is Kratom has been used in the West for decades to help people who, for example, had addictions and like opiates, for example, because Kratom, the two psychoactive ingredients bind to opioid receptors. And it's been in its powdered form, its original form, pretty effective for helping people or chronic pain conditions. But recently, companies figured out that if you synthesize the psychoactive ingredients, mitragynine and 7-hydroxymitragynine, into very potent shots or tablets, it will get you high.
Huh.
And it's just a supplement. So we get it at a gas station or a smoke shop, right? And like, that's where the problem really started here. So your buddy doing it under the counter, like he was chasing the high that now you can get in those little bottles at the smoke shop.
Oh, and that's dangerous, you know? Like, did you ever hear of K2 or Spice?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can say that I had my fair share of K2, and holy hell, I can still feel the brain holes that left, you know?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Gotta fill that back in with gray matter.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, but that's the thing, you know, is because it was legal, it was one of those things that was like, oh, look, like it's being sold, so it might as well be like good. It does not mean that it's actually good and healthy and by any means.
Right. And if anybody out there is listening has heard of Kratom or 7-O's, 7-hydroxys, and you haven't tried it, don't.
Yeah.
Because you may be thinking the same thing that Keegan just said. Like, well, it's sold everywhere. They even sell it at apothecaries or hemp shops. And it's like, hey, man, this is just a revenue driver. That's all it is. If the companies actually cared about the results of their products, they would close shop. But I mean, the revenue for Kratom in general in the United States in 2023 was about $2 billion. And that's projected to jump to over $7 billion over the next 5 years. And I mean, if that doesn't tell you everything, I mean, that's pretty clear, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money. That's more than I could ever even imagine, like, being able to say, like, oh, yeah, I even invested in that or something, you know?
Well, you know what's wild about that, actually? Recently, I was connected to a salesman who he claims helped spread the growth of these extracts. So there's one brand in particular I used to be super addicted to, and it cost me a ton of money, and we don't have to go down that, but like, yeah, man, it was really hurting me. It's called OPMS. They make OPMS Gold, OPMS Black. They're these tiny little bottles, and they're just crammed with the psychoactive ingredients from the kratom leaf. And this guy, he's the one who sold them to smoke shop distributors, like the highest level distributors. And he grew that company from a $10 million company to a $40 million company over a couple of years. And it's just so ironic that now I'm talking to him and he had this change of heart. He's like, I don't want to do that. I know I've done harm. I'd rather, you know, give back or like right the wrongs. And I'm like, man, yeah, I guess because of your direct handiwork, I went down the freaking rabbit hole, man. Like, I was lost.
Yeah. Damn. So, like, did he hear about the QuitKit and did he be like, oh, I want to help push that too or something?
Essentially.
Oh,
essentially.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah. Wild, man. Yeah. Wild.
How the tables turn, my friend.
Yeah. And it's pretty cool, actually. You know, like, I'm not going to judge him or anything like that. We all do what we do. But it is nice to see, you know, that kind of change of heart. And
yeah,
it's like, yeah, man. Okay, cool. Welcome. Yeah, we'll do the right thing. We'll try to get people sober, not addicted.
Yeah. And I mean, so long as he's not necessarily in it for the money, you know, I guess that's where the real thing is, because if he was just in it for the money, there's not a lot of money in recovery, for the sheer fact that a lot of people don't want to be in recovery and get sober, because addiction and running from pain is nice. It's easier, but it's also really hard at the same time. But the tricky thing is that it's whenever we're feeling hopeless that really just pulls us into that addiction cycle, you know, and recovery is supposed to be about hope, and it's really hard to sell hope. So how do you help people find their flavor of hope, if you will?
I think I do it in a different way. If you're asking me particularly, like when I talk with QuitKit clients or people who are curious about it, I always look back on my experience quitting nicotine and tramadol extracts. And in order for me to get over that, I had to frame the drug as something that it just no longer held any value to me. Because you talk about hope, and it's like when you start taking these things, whether it's to fit in or feel better or feel less depressed, you find hope in that. You're like, oh, finally, I get something that gives me a break from my demons. And then obviously the demons multiply and start to take over and move in.
Mm-hmm.
But it, like, the only way I was able to quit these substances was to see them for what they were. And then it's kind of like, well, okay, well, now what? Now you're sober. Life isn't just going to magically reward you for being you. You're still going to have to make a life. So how do you find hope that way? But I do think that seeing the drugs as something that no longer hold value to you, that's step one for me. That was step one for me. And then trying to figure out how to place love and flourishing, fulfillment and joy in your life. I mean, that's just what it's like to be a human. That's welcome. You're alive. It's your job to do all that. So you're going to have to put in work.
Yeah. And I love hearing that, because you're right. Like, you have to put in the work if you want to get sober, because as much as it's easy to say, well, someone drove me into addiction, or someone drove me to the bottle, or even like, oh, I got this surgery and now I have to take pain pills for it, and so the doctor got me addicted to pain pills. It's one of those things where it's like, it exists. It was your choice to do it or not. But addiction sucks, because, like, I've referred to addiction as the disease of choice, because, you know, we start off with the choice to use or drink, and then somewhere along the line, we lose that choice because somehow our brains make it seem like life can't go on without it. And we have to make another choice to stop it. Kind of like what you were saying. We have to see that there's no value in it and to see beyond that. But that's really, really hard, you know? And I mean, I know our last conversation, you'd spoken about making other people happy, I guess it was. Like bringing joy to other people's lives. And that helps you with your existential dread, right?
Yeah, that's right. One of the examples I used was calling your mom. Yeah, I wrote a blog about this. That there are 3 things that I think are worth tapping into if it's like, I'm sober, now what? And it's all about stacking activities that reliably bring you either joy or fulfillment or love, and doing that makes it less likely that the time in your day is going to be filled with fear. And fear, to me, is what drives people to go back to addiction. Fear of not being enough at life not being enough for you. And it's like, well, I'm all alone maybe in the universe kind of thing. And okay, well, how do you make less room in your life for fear? I think the antidote has to be love and fulfillment. So what activities can you engage on purpose that are not like, okay, I'm going to be, I don't know, like name, dream, childhood dream here. It's like, oh, maybe, but maybe it takes 5 to 10 years, man. What can you do now that would bring you those things? And if I call my mom loves me. And I don't get to see her very much because she lives up in Seattle and I live in North Carolina. So we see each other only a few times a year. So she's always happy to hear from me. And even when I was in the middle of my addiction, I could reliably, I don't know if you can hear my cat back there, but he is just insistent. I could always reliably feel better after talking to her. And that stayed the same after I got clean. So it's like, okay, well, if I'm feeling afraid or feeling down, I can stack that into my life. Like, that's love. I just get to plug into that. Okay. Well, then what's one thing that brings me satisfaction that I can do and I'm good at? Everybody has at least one thing that they can find fulfillment with that they're kind of good at. And for me, I started playing guitar at 15. And like, that is my emotional home. I don't care where I am in the world or who I'm with. If I have a guitar, like, there's just something that connects. So if I rip through some melodies on those frets, I mean, I just get taken. So for 30 minutes, I can plug into that, like literally plug into a guitar amp. So, all right, so I got my mom. I can talk to my mom for 30 minutes. I got my guitar. I could do that for 30 minutes. And then the last one is to find a sense of joy or fulfillment. What's laying around you that you've wanted to tackle, but you're a little nervous to do it because you don't know if you'd succeed? Like, what challenges are around you? Nothing big that you could, you're like, okay, well, maybe if I learned how to do that, I could do it and it would bring me happiness. It's like, yeah, okay, here's the answer, YouTube. And I installed a garden, kitchen backsplash, and a cooling, like I repaired the cooling system in my car after watching YouTube videos. And like the whole time I was doing that, I was in the zone, man. And I don't care about kitchens. I don't care about gardens. I don't really care about auto maintenance, but it's like, hey, man, let's just see if I can do it. And the cooling thing didn't really work out. Like I had to take it to the mechanic. That shit lasted for about half an hour. So I was like, okay, duct tape is not the answer for this. Like, pay $800. But for that time, man, I was just like, I had that awesome sense. And if you do that enough times, I truly think you start to build these habits of injecting yourself with fear replacing activities. And the more you can stack those in your life, the more hope and happiness, so to speak, you could count on having on demand.
Okay. Ooh, that's some powerful stuff right there. And I mean, YouTube is great for learning those kind of quick fixes, you know, because there was one year where I was driving my car and there was a problem. Like, I thought I dropped the transmission. I was like, ah, shit, like I couldn't go over 45. And so like I went, got it checked out and everything, and they were like, oh yeah, it's just it was the rear O2 sensor or something like that. And so I was like, okay. And they were like, it's gonna be like $700-800 to fix it. But the guy was really cool. He was like, I'm telling you what, you can go right next door, get the part for $12 and do it at home. And I was like, ah, fucking hell yeah.
Sign me up, man.
Yeah. And I mean, but that was one of those things, is that fear of like, I can't drive my car, I have to pay all this money, definitely made me want to go and drink. So I was definitely like in that fear mindset. But in those 2 hours that I was working on my car, I wasn't drinking, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, that's a perfect example. Like you don't even need to wait around, look around and like go seeking challenges. Most of the time, challenges find you, man, and often on a daily basis. And like we never really notice just how much of our time during the day is spent solving problems. But if you try to solve problems that you actually want to solve instead of the ones that you have to solve, you get to do it on demand. I mean, it's really cool that you were able to put in the O2 sensor. Yeah. It's a good thing it wasn't the alternator or anything like that. But yeah, this stuff, it really helps you to feel empowered without a substance. Like you don't have to go sit on the couch to feel good. You can actually do something and feel good.
Yeah. And so I know with our first conversation, you had used a similar analogy of sorts, to where whenever you were on Kratom, you were just sitting there on the couch and you were feeling so good. And you're like, you shouldn't be feeling this way. But it's weird because you totally can feel that way. But it's because you feel fulfilled in what you've done with your time and energy, right?
Right.
And your body's not just sitting there flooded with all these chemicals and coming out of nowhere. You're actually working for it. You're actually producing it. You're doing something with your life.
Yeah. And if you can figure out how to do that often, okay, you're going to have a good life. You may not achieve that childhood dream. I hope you do. You're still going to have a good life, man. And you're going to look back and think, I did a lot of cool shit. Like, that's what you want when you're on deathbed. Be like, damn, that was cool.
Yeah, that is for sure. Here's a little bit of a tangent real quick. You said you've helped over 5,000 people. So what kind of testimonies have you got from that? Because I'm sure a lot of people can really relate to, like, just, I know that your first episode is still the most listened to on my podcast and everything. So it's one of those that people relate. People really understand that there's something to Kratom addiction. And I've had some people try to tell me, oh, y'all don't know what y'all are talking about, blah. So what have you heard from the people that have tried it? Has there been anyone kind of skeptical about it and then was blown away by the results?
yes to all. We've had really good testimonials come in. We've had some people who said they tried it and it didn't work for them. And we have a 100% money back guarantee. So it's like, if you do try it and it doesn't give you the support you're looking for, thanks for trying. Give all your money back. You know, we wish you the very best. But fortunately, that is not as prevalent as the good testimonials that come in. And it's like, there's just, we were talking earlier about how if there's something at the gas station or smoke shop or K2, for example, where you're like, well, I'm not on the corner getting this, and there's some implied trust where you're like, this can't be that bad for me, or maybe my buddy at work is doing it, I could do it too, you know, and it's not happy hour. He's still doing it. You know, we all drink coffee. Maybe it's like an upgraded version. This is how most people fall into Kratom or 7-hydroxys. And then they realize, holy shit, I can't stop. And if I try, then these withdrawals are so brutal that I'll give up. So, you know, the kind of testimonials that come in are more like, I wasn't ready to go to rehab. I didn't want to go to a doctor because I'm just not that person, that archetype of the addict that we all grow up thinking about, where it's just this disheveled, you know, poor, unfortunate soul. It's like, these are business owners, mothers of 3, you know, and of course there are, you know, some people who have really lost a lot to this stuff, but it's just like, I didn't know an option like QuitKit was there. And that same reason I created it, right? Like the same reason is just because there's some pride in us that's like, or maybe we can't afford rehab, or it's just like, I can't admit to the world how broken I feel. Maybe if I could just try to quit at home with something that would help with the withdrawals, I would be the person I know I am without the drugs. And so the testimonials always reflect that. It's like, God, it feels good to be free. And the fact that I was able to do it on my own, that's, you know, that's way better than having somebody else do it for you.
Yeah. Oh man. That's way too cool. First of all, I'm super glad to hear that you have the 100% money back guarantee thing, because yeah, it's one of those that you're not in it for the money. You're trying to help people find their way out of addiction. And like you said, the whole not wanting to admit that there's a problem, not wanting to admit that someone is broken. Because I mean, that's one of the things that kept me in my addiction cycle for so long, was that like, I got a problem with alcohol. I don't want to let anyone know that I'm really struggling here. You know, like everyone just thought that I was like a super Irish guy that could drink everyone under the table at parties. And they didn't know that like, no, it's just because I'm just constantly drunk, you know? And so like, it was one of those things that I didn't want to do what I had to do for recovery, but that was the thing, is that I didn't really have a choice. You know, life does kind of shake things up in my world to make me move. And I mean, I had to go through some pretty rough times, but you're able to help people figure out their flavor of recovery in the comfort of their own home, which is fantastic. Like you said, there's more freedom to that, and I think that that's where a lot of that fulfillment can come from too. You know, being able to say like, I did this, like I was able to go through the withdrawals, I was able to find a hobby or something that a YouTube video taught me, and now I'm good at it. Like, holy shit, what?
Yeah, you're right, man.
Yeah.
The things that we do for ourselves matter so much more to us in the long run, and we value them more. Kind of like if you bought a car versus someone gave it to you, you're going to treat the one you bought way nicer than the one that was a gift. It's like the same principle. It's like, yeah, it can be hard, and it will, obviously. But the things that you do for yourself, you build this foundation that is so damn strong that, you know, other shit will come up in your life and be like, ah, God damn it. Like that. But then that happens to me, and then I'll think, there'll just be these little flurries of thoughts sometimes when I'm really stressed out, being like, man, you could just drive down the street and have a 20-minute relief. And that is a thought that used to spiral, but it no longer spirals, it just enters and it just leaves. And And it's because I did it myself, man. And I proved to myself like I could quit. And I know it's the same for you. Like if someone has a drink around you, maybe that would have sent you into a tailspin, but you're like, no. Like
Nope.
I've been down that road. I'm out, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's just something to recovery, you know, because whenever hang on, let me rewind real quick. First, let's let everyone know where they can find the QuitKit.
Sure. Yeah, try QuitKit.com. Hey, look at that. That's the one.
Yeah. So
yeah, and there will be a discount code for anybody who's interested in trying one. We'll include it in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure.
Somewhere there will be a discount code.
I mean, it's way too cool whenever we're sitting here and we have these kind of resources available to us. Like you have created a resource, a tool that people can go and do this. And if I'm not mistaken, you also had a little chatbot that helped people figure out if they needed help, right?
Yeah, this thing has been used now by over 900 people, which just blows my mind.
Wow.
Yeah, like I was pretty skeptical of it, but I therapized myself basically with this custom GPT that's hosted on OpenAI. That I basically just programmed it from memories of interactions with all the QuitKit clients, and I was like, this is what we need to hear. This is what we think about. This is what we struggle with. Is there something out there that we don't have to pay $150 an hour once a week, like a therapist that could help us whenever, like 24/7? It's like, yeah, actually, it's the recovery coach. It really helps. And if you have a ChatGPT account, you can use it right now. You find it at tryquitkit.com.
Okay. Yeah, I remember you would ask me to help, like, give it a test run or two, and I tried to make it say like, yeah, it's okay. Go do your vices. You know, if it helps you, it helps you. It would not let me. It was like,
good.
I was
so glad to hear that.
Yeah, because I was like, because I was trying to run with that fear mindset, you know, because like you said, fear is one of the things that drives people to addiction. And so I was like, maybe if I just keep letting it know that my vices help me through the day, it might just say, you know what, it's fine. And no, it was very adamant about like, no, it sounds like you got a problem, but it wasn't that overbearing, like rough, like you got a problem, you need to go fix it kind of thing. It was very gentle in the manner of like, hey, like I hear you in your pain, it's valid, and like let's walk you through it. And I was like, this is really cool. Like, I wish I had that whenever I was trying to get sober.
Right? Me too. It's so much of this stuff I'm making. It's like, dude, this would have been great when I was trying to quit drinking or something like that. Or when I was trying to quit tramadol, for example. Man, that stuff ruled my life for a year back in 2017, 2016. That shit, no joke.
Yeah. No. And on that note, does the QuitKit help with that kind of stuff too, or is that just a different class?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have the same sample size of clients as I do for something like Kratom and 7-O's, but I can say this much. Kratom is a partial opioid agonist. So if you get those concentrated Kratom shots, it'll get you high, similar to tramadol, which is a partial opioid agonist. This is different than morphine. This is different than fentanyl or heroin. But 7-O's, 7-hydroxys, comes from the kratom leaf. It's just the more potent psychoactive ingredient that they synthesize. It's 13 times more potent than morphine on average, which is one of the reasons why it's so incredibly addictive.
Wow.
And most of our clients are on 7-O's. So some coming off of Suboxone, some Percocets, some hydrocodone. I just don't know enough about like something like fentanyl, like another really hard hitting opiate like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's really cool that it could be something that someone could still try, you know, because there's no harm in trying to get sober. There's no harm in trying to recover, you know, and the only thing I will say to that is like certain caveats, like barbiturates and alcohol. Like if you are dependent on those and you quit them cold turkey, that can be bad news bears, you know, because that's I mean, I was still in my medical supervised detox from alcohol and still wound up with delirium tremens, seizing on the floor, woke up in hospital later, you know. Aside from that, let's look more at the hope aspect. One of the things in recovery is all about spiritual health, you know. We're trying to help ourselves and be fulfilled. And so I'm sure that helping other people like you have has been its own spiritual tool in a sense, right?
Yeah, the best part of my job is when people call me out of the blue. Like I shouldn't say, yeah, well, whatever. It's already there. My cell phone is on the website. So people will call at like 8 p.m. from unknown area code, and I'll pick up, and like oftentimes they won't even introduce themselves. They'll just say, hey, I'll say, hey, Matt, hey, this is Matt. And they'll say, hey, yeah, so anyways, I was looking at this kit and I got some questions, and it's like, okay. And then I'll learn about them. They'll learn about me. And it's always a good thing for both of us. That this is the whole reason QuitKit exists, is to try to give people a bridge to feeling more confident. And in my life, nothing, professional life, nothing makes me feel more confident that I'm doing the right thing than when I talk to people and to make them feel less alone. Because that's what I needed when I was going through my addictions. I felt so alone, man. And even though I knew the statistics, I just still felt so alone. So I'd say that's a way that it brings me joy.
That's awesome. And I mean, I'm right there with you. In the middle of my addiction, I felt super alone. And like, I felt like the worst alcoholic, you know, like you see it on movies, you hear it about like in history books and all that, but whenever you're experiencing it, it just hits another level that makes you so isolated from the world, you know?
Yes,
And
isolated.
yeah, and so you help people dissolve that isolation gap, essentially. So
Well, that's what you do here on this podcast. You do this all the time, man. You're a ninja. You're a black belt.
I don't know if I would say that. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We want people to know that they're not alone. And it's crazy because the stories may be a little bit different, but at the same time, the pain is still the same. So, I mean, one of the things that you said last time was that you'd been asked, like, you were asked, how do people stay sober, you know, and you were like, I don't really have an answer for that. Because, did you say that because there's so many different ways to do it? Do you think that it's just really individual to each person, or?
I said it because I don't know if there is an answer. And I might not be the right person to even give that reply. It's just for me personally. I just don't think about doing it with any joy anymore. And so even if other stuff sucks, I've removed the satisfaction in my brain that I used to associate with those drugs. And I think that's the best I can say. So I don't know, man. Everybody wants to find that playbook, the cheat codes. I don't know if there is one. I really don't know. But that's not a bad thing. Like that's not a bad thing. It's just a little bit disorienting, but it's still like, oh well, there's not, then it's not worth it. No. It's so worth it. Like just because this person doesn't have a good answer, it's still so worth it.
Yeah. I think that is the answer, you know, like it will be worth it. And once you find that worth in it, then I mean, it kind of answers itself in a sense. And it's hard to imagine life beyond addiction whenever you're in it, you know. And I mean, just even quitting nicotine is one of those things where it's like I couldn't see myself without a cigarette or my vape like for a couple of days. And if I didn't have it, without having that negative connotation in my head of like, hey, this serves me no more, I was sitting there freaking out about it, you know. But whenever I made that initial decision to quit nicotine again, it was like, okay, I can set it down, and it's not good for me. It just wastes money, and like like it sucks. The first time I quit nicotine, I actually had to sit there and I would buy a pack of smokes and I would set it aside and I would wait until like I could not have a cigarette, you know, and then I would take one out and then as I was lighting it, I would walk to the dumpster and crush it up and then throw the rest of the pack away and be like, that's a waste of money. I'm just wasting money here. And that was my initial motivation to quit nicotine. I was so mad. I was so fed up with it. And eventually I found my way back to it because I didn't get rid of that little bit of it doesn't serve me, you know, because it was still a great crutch. It was something that like, oh, I've had a really bad day. I need something to take the edge off. And it's like, but I'm poisoning my body. Like, well, if I enjoy living, then why would I want to poison my body? You know?
Yeah. Dude, I want to hear more about, for example, you said you got back into it. Were you able to successfully get off of it? I want to know about the second round. I think the second round is always important for people who, I wouldn't say relapse because I wouldn't call that a relapse, but I think people lose a lot of hope when they quit and it's like, hell yeah, I got this shit. And then they give in and then they feel like doubly or quadruply worse. Yeah. But you can still quit again. So, dude, can you tell me about quitting again?
Yeah. So it's kind of weird because whenever I first quit nicotine, I was off of like all nicotine products for like 2.5 years. And then I got married and then, you know, like I was also still addicted to alcohol. And so, you know, if I went to a bar, like that would be the only time that it was like, I kind of felt like it. And then whenever I fell back into it, it was definitely very much like, okay, like I'm drinking, I got to have a smoke. And so the two kind of played on each other, you know, but the thing is that the underlying stress and not feeling worthwhile was what kind of led me to smoking again, you know, because there's a song by Flogging Molly, Factory Girls, and in there's a line where she says, cigarettes just kill the time. And I was like, because that's all they did. They didn't offer me anything anymore. It wasn't something that was like, oh, I'm going to go sit on the back porch and reminisce about life and think and reflect. I'm going to sit there and just kill time because my body says it's time for a smoke, you know, and that's what it was. It was something that was like, I'm going to waste time because I don't feel like my time was worthwhile. And it really got worse whenever I broke my femur and I couldn't move. Well, like I couldn't go work for 6.5 months, you know, and so that really sucked. That's whenever I figured out vaping was super cool because you could do it inside. And so then after that, I tried to quit again for a little bit, but to no real avail. And then whenever I was in rehab, they allowed nicotine and stuff, and that was like to each their own, but it did help reinforce the whole like, hey, if I can't have my drug of choice, alcohol, then I'm going to have nicotine because everyone else is doing it. Why not? Peer pressure. And so afterwards, after rehab and stuff, it just carried on because I still didn't feel like my time was very worthwhile, even in recovery, you know, because it was still something that would be that crutch that like, oh, it helps my body relax a little bit. But the thing is that like for vaping, I'd have to go almost all day without a single puff just to have one puff make it towards like, oh yeah, this is why I do it. And then it's gone in like 30, 45 seconds, you know?
Yeah.
And again, money was a huge factor in that because even though I also had to change my relationship with money because I've always hated money to the point of thinking that, like it's the root of all evil kind of stuff, you know? But the thing is that with that mindset, I had a hard time saving money because I subconsciously didn't want to hold on to it because I thought it was so bad. And so once I changed the relationship of like, no, this can actually afford me things that I want to have in my life, like a roof over my head, podcast microphone, stuff like that, you know? And so eventually, whenever those two relationships changed, with in myself, that's whenever I found that it was not worth it. It was something that was like, there's no reason for it anymore. And the last time that I kind of spoke about it, it was like vaping just made my mouth sad. I mean, it was one of those things that it kind of sucked, but at the same time, because my relationship with everything changed, it was easier to get rid of it because it just didn't have its place in my life anymore. Kind of like what you were saying. It didn't serve a purpose, and I again, I had to change the way I looked at myself, the way that I valued my time and everything else, you know? So, and I mean, my wife doesn't like the smell of cigarettes, so she definitely didn't want to be around me if I was smoking.
Yeah, and my now fiance absolutely hates the smell of cigarettes. I want to come back to one thing you said. I think it
Okay.
was really interesting. Um, you changed your relationship over time with nicotine, and it's like, oh, because when you enter into an addiction with a drug, you have two options from what I can see. You can change your relationship with everything else and keep your relationship with the drug the same, or you can change your relationship with the drug and keep everything else the same, or hopefully make it better. And the problem with addictive drugs is it always convinces you to change everything else so your relationship with the drug can stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
And are you able to like pinpoint any moments where it was like, or maybe pinpoint moments is the wrong way to put it, but I mean, that's a fork in the road, really. Uh, and it's like, you never really know when you're making that choice until like, oh shit, like I've pushed other people out, or I'm losing money, or when my health is getting worse, and I've changed the relationship with my body or my wallet or my people. Um,
Mm.
like, how do you switch? How do you go from one road to the other? You know what I mean? Like, did you have any epiphanies where you were like, oh, I can do that now, that you think might be helpful for other people? Because I'm curious, man.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And you're right, it is kind of hard to pinpoint, you know, but in retrospect, whenever I first had the first time I quit cigarettes and the first time I really wanted to like quit everything was uh actually the very first time I recognized that cigarettes were doing something bad to my body was I was at Boy Scout camp and I coughed up a tar ball. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it was nasty. I was like, what is this? And like coughed it up and it landed on the dirt road and I was like, what the because it was just a little black
Like, oh, shit.
yeah, it was like a little tiny black thing, and I was like, ugh. And you know, me and my friends were sitting there poking it with a stick, like, what
No
the hell is
shit.
this?
Oh man.
Yeah. And so like that was teenage years and stuff. And so then later on, whenever I could tell that my body was starting to be adversely affected, I was in a morning shower and the same thing happened. All that steam kind of came up and like I started hacking stuff up and just black stuff started coming out. And I was like, and then like I was like, that's not good. That's not healthy. You know, and for some reason, even though I didn't have a lot of self-worth, my brain was still like, hey, you should probably take care of your body if you want to be here for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was that one. And then, I mean, that was a big catalyst for quitting, especially smoke, cigarettes and nicotine, you know. And then because I was still looking for a crutch, I was still looking for a way to essentially manage trigger responses or reactions. It was one of those that it's like, oh, it's not harming anyone. It's not doing anything bad if I vape a little bit. But again, my mouth started to be sad. I didn't find anything from it. I was losing my sense of smell and taste. And that was a big one because, like, if you've seen the smoke coming around me during this episode, it's because I have an incense. You know, I almost always have some kind of aromatherapy stuff going on. And whenever I was like, hey, some of my favorite smells, I can't really smell the same. It's like, like, even though I was addicted to nicotine and stuff, the smell of cigarettes were still disgusting. I don't care what you say. Like,
Mhm.
ugh. So it, I don't know. I would say that that was another one. Just like recognizing what it was doing to me and deciding, nah, I actually don't like that anymore. You know, the pros and cons. So,
Yeah,
um,
you gotta seize on moments like those where it's almost like your body's telling you, "Hey, man, like, are you seeing what we're feeling in here?
yeah.
Because trying to demonstrate like this cannot continue."
Yeah. And I mean the very first hardball, like I always remember that one very vividly because it was super black and it was super uncalled for, like just out in the middle of Boy Scout camp and everything, just walking along and then just coughed it up out of nowhere. And so that should have been my first warning sign. Like my body was very much like, hey, we don't want this shit in here. Get it the fuck out.
Yeah, yeah. Boom. Take a look.
Yeah. I only wish that like alcohol had some kind of thing like that besides vomiting, you know? And but that's just one of those things like you people have made like certain things socially acceptable, and that's kind of one of the things that make it hard to quit, you know?
Mhm.
Like nicotine is one of those. And I'm actually doing a little bit of research on like the recovery history, if you will. And it's one of those things that if a society makes something socially acceptable, it just makes it easier for everyone to fall into a trap because they're trying to escape a reality. They're trying to escape physical pains, you know? So it's really hard to actually get to the point to where each person, I think, has their own flavor of recovery, if you will. They have their own reasons for going into addiction one way or another, whether they realize it or not. And I think the hardest part, though, was realizing that I did some fucked up shit to be in the addictive like cycle. You know, I like to think of myself as a good person, but a good person doesn't do some of the stuff that I did. So that was the guilt and shame right there was pretty bad. But I also had to realize that you can't shame yourself into recovery, you know?
Right.
So,
Right. That's a good point. Man, I like that. You can't shame yourself into recovery. Yeah,
mm-mm.
self-shame typically does one thing. It makes you use more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point, man. That's a good point.
hmm Yeah. And shame is one of those things that's really ingrained in our society to the point where it's like, it's good to have some shame, right? And I've spoke with Emma Lyons a couple times, and she blows the lid off of shame. Like shame is just not good. So, my question for you is, what was one of the turning points for you, especially in your kratom addiction?
Oh, I sticking with physical stuff. This was, you know, let's say 2 months before I finally quit. Maybe a month. Back in
Mm,
2024 in the summertime, I had developed this terrible condition where I'd wake up, and, this was during heavy usage. I'd wake up and my left arm would be asleep, even though I hadn't slept on it. I was just numb. And then in the palm of my hand, okay, if I did this, it felt like it was going to explode. It just felt like it was just swollen, even though it looked normal. And so I would very gently do that. And the pain was so intense. And it didn't wear off until 1 or 2 hours after waking up.
oof.
And that was every day. So I told my girlfriend about it. And she said, "You should go to the hospital." And
Mhm.
I was like, "All right, I should go to the hospital." In the back of my head, I'm pretty sure I knew what was causing it. But at the same time, I was freaked out because it was brand new. So I go to, dude, I go to the ER. All right. And um, I sat in the waiting room. Fortunately, it wasn't that long a wait, but they bring me in and they say, "So what's wrong?" And I describe the condition. And there was a waiting, like, physician's assistant who was helping me. She's like,
Mhm.
"Hold on." And she comes back. And by the time, like, I've explained this for the third time, there's a doctor in front of me and 5 nurses who are just surrounding my hospital bed. I'll go in like, they had no idea what to make of it, but I didn't tell them what I was taking. Like I didn't tell them I was, drinking Kratom extracts all day, every day. And so the doctor just looked at me and he's like, you got carpal tunnel syndrome. I remember thinking, fucking what? Like, huh? Like, I know I didn't tell him everything, but like, you met me for 15 minutes. What do you mean I have carpal tunnel syndrome? And so he just says, you're going to go upstairs, you're going to get an ultrasound on your left arm, and we'll send you home with a cast. So I went upstairs, I got an ultrasound. It took, a few hours. It was benign, totally negative. They gave me a cast, this little thing from my wrist, and they said, go home. And I remember getting home thinking, what just happened? And I woke up the next day, same shit, same pain, except the next day I got a hospital bill for $2,300. And I wasn't working at that time. Like I had just left my chemical engineering job in California after I'd moved here to North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it was like, did I really just blow $2,300, waste a day, and I'm still spending hundreds a week, maybe more, on Kratom? And like that was, I remember thinking, hey man, it's not going to get much worse than this. Like you are doing the wrong things with your life. And that'll always stand out as a moment to me where it's like, all right, wake up. This isn't just a casual activity. This is fucking serious, man.
Yeah.
But man, $2,300 for a carpal tunnel, like a little cast that I didn't need. Oh my God. Come on, man. Like I wish I could go back to myself there and be like, listen, you're gonna want that money. Just quit the drug. Like you're gonna use that. It's gonna come in handy. Like when you get engaged and you have to buy a ring. Like you're not gonna want to blow that.
Yeah. Damn. First of all, congratulations on the engagement.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
appreciate that. Yeah, it's a very special moment for me.
Yeah. I think that there's a really important message in there too, because it's one of those things that people go to medical providers and they're like, oh, I don't want them to know about my addiction and what I'm using because they might call the cops. They won't do that. But that's the thing, is that it may hold the key of what's going on with you. And I'm just glad that your hand didn't actually explode, because holy hell, that sounds like it would have sucked.
Oh yeah, and speaking of testimonies, like I've shared this with the Kratom support groups and stuff, and it's a common symptom I've found out. This wasn't just me. Like this is one of the problems of overdosing on metragynine and 7-hydroxymetragynine is your limbs start to get numb or swell up, which is not good.
Yeah, and I can only assume that has ceased ever since you got into your recovery,
it
right?
stopped as soon as I quit, man. Like it went away immediately. Like, duh. Okay.
I'm like, why did I do that sooner? Damn it.
Man, I wish I could have that money back.
Yeah. Oh man, and I think that's just something too, like there's a lot of wasted resources in addiction and trying to maybe even avoid getting sober, because some people like myself, sometimes we trade off one addiction for another. And I know whenever I was first in recovery, I was sitting there and I was pounding Red Bulls back like I was back on alcohol. It was like, what was it? My roommate at the time, we went somewhere in town, and I had those like giant tall boy Red Bulls. And he was like, how many, like, you need to calm down on those. I was like, what? It's only my third one for the day. And he was like, what the? Yeah, I was like, yeah, it helps my ADHD, it helps me calm down. So,
yeah. Hey, man, I was the same way. When I quit, I was a total caffeine addict, like 4 cups of coffee a day. Absolutely. Yeah. That was my thing.
And then wonder why the anxiety is so high.
Yeah. Why is your sleep not as good as it could be? I always read about this great sleep when you quit drinking. Well, hey, if you drink caffeine after 4 p.m., you're going to have some tough times. But yeah, I got that down to 1 or 2 cups.
Nice.
In the morning now. And that's That's my vice, man. I'll never let go. I also love coffee. I love good coffee, so I'm not going to let that go. But that's my vice now.
I mean, I can't fault you there. Good Cup of Joe is always something that helps either the day get going, or sometimes even just kind of, for ADHD, can help me relax. And so,
Is it? I didn't know that.
Yep. ADHD and stimulants sometimes have the opposite effect. Like back when, if you can do a line of cocaine and go to sleep, you know you have ADHD. So.
So I definitely don't have ADHD.
Yeah.
Vividly remember from my 20s.
Yeah.
Definitely no ADHD.
So if anyone out there is listening and you just pound energy drinks because it helps you stay calm and feel grounded, you probably have ADHD. And
this is our clinical analysis.
We take no judgment. We take no liability, right?
Yeah, right. So funny.
Oh boy. We are near the end of this episode, Matt. But do you think that we could see you on in the future in a few more months or something, so that we can catch up and see how the QuitKit journey is going for you and everyone else out there?
Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah.
It's one of the highlights, for me to be able to come on here and meet you again. And if anything that I have said today or any of the other times has been helpful, that is a very humbling honor. I don't take that lightly.
Yeah. And I just got to say thank you for coming on the show, because it is a huge honor and pleasure just to speak with you and to help others find their flavor of recovery and to get freedom within their own homes, because it's way too cool. Like, I wish that there was something like this for alcohol back in the day. So
I hope there might be in the future. I have to say, I suppose right now, QuitKit is not for alcohol, barbiturates, or benzodiazepines. These can be very dangerous withdrawals if you do go buy them at home. But I agree, man. Yeah, if there's something that can empower people to quit on their own terms, this is the foundation we discussed that can help bolster in the recovery long term.
Yeah. And one more time for everyone out there, where can they find you and the QuitKit?
Try QuitKit.com.
Awesome. It's you got your cell phone number on there. That's pretty brave of you, man. Just gotta say.
It sure is, bro. It sure is.
Do you have any last words that you got for the listeners out there today?
Sure. I can hopefully give some encouragement as to why it might be, if you're struggling, why it might be a good thing for you to quit. I got engaged last weekend, and it's amazing. And we've been talking about when I was addicted to Kratom. I was with my girlfriend, and there was this day, she texted me. I was out of the house, and she had found one of the bottles of OPMS Black that I had discussed, and she had known that I had a problem with them, and I had promised her I'd stop. And spoiler, I didn't stop. So I get this text from her, and it's like, whenever you get home, you're going to get rid of any of these that you have left. And that acid burning feeling when you just got caught doing something really wrong? Mm-hmm. It's like, I just never felt like someone that good could be with someone like me. And I put off any engagement with her because I just felt like she was way too good for me. Like, what's she doing? I can't live up to this. But then a year later, I'm engaged. And it took a lot of this year and a half for me to let go of those demons that Kratom and Tramadol and alcohol and nicotine put into me. But if you're feeling like I did then, just know, hey man, yeah, you without the drugs is someone that is worth marrying. You without the drugs is someone who doesn't have to beat themselves up all the time and feel like shit. That's just the drugs talking to you. Pure and simple. You are awesome. You are so dope. You are the coolest thing. And there's a lot of ways that the world needs your awesomeness. And if you have a cool girlfriend, and she says yes to an engagement. I mean, that shit, it doesn't get any better than that, man. So that's waiting for you. Like, that kind of feeling is waiting for you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story, man. And I can totally relate on the whole having your stockpile or the remnants of the usage be found and be in trouble for that. And it's like, shit. Yeah, that gut feeling of like, whoop, gone.
You're like, oh no, I have only myself to blame for this.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, maybe that's something we can dig into next time so other people realize that, oh shit, okay, cool. But at least other people experience it too.
Yeah, we can totally do that, man. I got skeletons, man, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's always nice to focus on the hope and the after, because in the middle of it, it sucks, and the beginning of it sucks too. Let's not lie, because it is very much a different world, and trying to relearn that world it's crazy in its own right, you know. So
yeah, but then you get there, man. You get to those places that bring you joy and beauty, and that's the good stuff.
Yeah, it's so worth it, and you'll be wondering why you didn't do it sooner. But with that, we have come to the end of this episode, unfortunately. But Matt, again, it's been a huge honor and a pleasure having you on, my friend, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you again. And everyone else out there, thank you for listening to Retrieving Sanity on WDJY 99.1 FM. And this has been Matt. This has been Keegan. We'll see y'all in the future. But until then, try to love yourself, love others if you can. And remember, you got to love yourself first. If you're having a mental health crisis, dial 988 and you can text 741-741. And try to hit like, subscribe if you want. Leave a comment. And again, you can see Matt and the QuitKit at tryquitkit.com, and we'll see y'all in the future. That much love. Shalom.